Dominion is the worst Jurassic movie by far. This franchise has been going on for over 30 years now, with many movies that were hits and misses, with some movies aging poorly despite being so beloved at the time, and other movies gaining more love over time despite their initial hate. It's honestly wild how much opinions on these few movies have changed over time. But one movie that has never changed opinions, at least with me, ever since I first watched it, was Dominion. I still hold the belief that this movie is by far the worst Jurassic movie this franchise had to offer. Even though this shouldn't have been the case at all. But what happened? How could a movie that not only had a strong cast, director, but a genius concept end up becoming a complete disaster? Well, seeing as Jurassic World Rebirth is just around the corner, and it being Jurassic June, I thought we'd take a look back 3 years ago to see what mistakes were made, and more importantly, what to not do when making a Jurassic movie. Hey guys, it's the Pink King here, and if you couldn't tell by the intro, I do not have a good relationship with this movie. It was one of my first movie reviews I'd ever done on this channel, and was so bad I started a reanimation series of this movie with how I'd fix it. Heck, even last year with my first Jurassic June marathon, I did not hold back in my disdain for this movie. But after giving it more thought recently, I've been asking myself, why exactly did I not like this movie? What about it ticked me off so much that I simply could not enjoy it? Well, after doing some reflection, I think I figured out why. With my first and probably biggest problem being, the movie is a complete waste of a genius concept. As for those of you who don't remember, Fallen Kingdom shocked us all with its cliffhanger ending of how the dinosaurs were now suddenly loose on the mainland. And straight after that, we were given a short film, Battle at Big Rock, where we saw not only were the dinosaurs very much alive, but thriving, with some of them even having babies on the mainland, causing chaos among society, as you could imagine. And honestly, this alone was what got me to see Dominion in the first place. Seeing the devastating impact these creatures could have when released on the rest of the world was such an intriguing concept, and it made a lot of sense thematically, as a big driving force in the original movies were the consequences of bringing these creatures back to life. So to make a movie about those consequences that we thought about so long ago was something genuinely brilliant. It's both interesting on a cinematic level and also an excuse to have fun with this idea of dinosaurs on the mainland. There was a lot that could have been done here. Heck, there was even a channel I used to watch that would make short films with a similar idea of dinosaurs on the mainland. It did a lot of horror Jurassic fan films. I can't remember the name, but I'll leave a link to their channel down in the description below. I recommend them, they're quite a good watch. But essentially, they had this golden idea. Instead of capitalizing on that idea, they instead went for the most needlessly complicated and extremely boring approach. We barely got to see any of the dinosaurs on the mainland, and we don't even get to see the impact these creatures have. Yeah, the main selling point of the movie isn't even in the movie, as instead of embracing this crazy idea, they instead chose the safest option by having the story go back to a remote location away from people. And it just makes you wonder, what was the point then? What was the point in having this big what-if climax at the end of Fallen Kingdom, only to backtrack it in the next movie? Not only are you wasting this brilliant idea, but you're also scamming your audience because you didn't deliver on what it is you promised. Like, all you needed to do was have dinosaurs on the mainland causing chaos, and have our characters face that new reality. It was such a simple yet effective idea, but instead, you had all this unnecessary stuff about corruption, heroic rescue missions, and half-baked plots about sticking together. But before I go on for too long about it, let's address another reason why this movie is terrible. and that's the blatant pandering and nostalgia baiting going on. Now, I get it, we all wanted to see the original cast back together for decades now, but unless you're going to tell a story worth telling, don't bring these legends back, because then it just comes across as blatant nostalgia pandering, as you're teasing your audience with this idea of, oh, the old gang's back together, we're finally going to get the goodness back again, making people pay for their tickets only for you to do nothing with it. And the thing is, nostalgia, while yes, is commonly used to boost ticket sales, can also be used really well, as fiction, when it's done right, will use nostalgia in order to make clever parallels or put new spins on certain messages and meanings. One of my favorite recent examples of using nostalgia well is Sonic 3. That movie had quite a lot of nostalgic elements like the supersonic / shadow scenes and certain music cues, but it used those elements to flesh out its story and bring more life to the movie. So nostalgia being there is not the problem. The problem is when that nostalgia is being misused as a cheap gimmick, like it was here. Because honestly, the lack of substance in this movie really makes it feel like pandering to older fans with adult money. And the final point I want to address today is the fact that this movie has no idea what it wants to be. On one hand, it wants to follow the massive cliffhanger of the last movie where dinosaurs were all along the mainland. On the other hand, it wants to be a thrilling adventure where Owen and Claire go on a Mission Impossible style journey to save Maisie. Then you have the other plot where the original characters go on a mission to uncover Biocid's corruption and the danger of the food industry with the locusts, and almost none of these elements work together at all. They're so different and require different ways of handling them that when you put them together, it simply comes across as unfocused and unnecessary. Like, you know it's bad when the biggest worry in your movie about literal dinosaurs on the mainland causing chaos is a bunch of big bugs eating up everyone's food. It's an idea that would probably work in its own movie, but in a Jurassic movie, feels utterly ridiculous and takes away from the impact you're trying to have. Because let's not forget, this movie was supposed to be the end of the Jurassic World trilogy. This was what they deemed acceptable to put the franchise on hiatus with, a jumbled up plot of conflicting stories that do not align nor fit the Jurassic universe. Nothing in this movie stands out or leaves a major impression on you. They try to make you feel intimidated by the new Giga, but it's only on screen for a few minutes that it's easy to forget it was even in the movie. And when not one, but almost all of your selling points is completely meaningless, that's when you know it's not only bad, but embarrassingly bad. And for me, as a fan of this franchise since I was legitimately 3 years old, I think you can understand why I'm being very harsh here. This is one of the most important franchises in modern cinema. It has been consistently successful throughout its entire run. The only movie that failed to make as much of an impact was Jurassic Park 3, and even then, nowadays, it's being looked upon more fondly than it has ever been. So to just waste all of that on a terrible ending for the sake of nostalgia baiting, and essentially just getting the biggest buck for your bang, it just comes across as insulting. But with all that being said, can Rebirth redeem the mistake that was Dominion? I'm not entirely sure. I doubt it will be anywhere near as good as the original movie because, of course. But I definitely think it's going in a good direction, as unlike Dominion, it seems to be taking a lot more risk and ultimately trying to be something more out there. Honestly, all I hope is that this movie is fun, because probably the worst aspect of Dominion was the fact that despite its flaws, despite its terrible writing, terrible use of characters, and terrible use of dinosaurs, it didn't know how to have fun with it, and that is probably the worst thing about that movie. But with that being said, let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Is Dominion one of your favourite movies from the franchise, or is it one of your least favourites? I want to see what you guys have to say down in the comments below, and while you're at it, don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you enjoyed it. And with that, peeps, it's been the Pink King here. and I will see you all next time.